All right, we have our guest on the air right now. Are you with us?
Yes, I'm here, Dr. Paul.
Great, I'm glad to hear from you. Charla Hathaway, let me read a few things about you. Charla Hathaway, ACS, CSB, a certified sex educator, intimacy coach, Tantra teacher, and best-selling author of 8 Erotic Nights. Also, she is to be on the upcoming sex documentary featured on the Discovery Channel. Charla, thank you for being our guest. I researched this and found that you looked very interesting, and I like that.
Thanks, Dr. Paul.
You're going to give us a quiz tonight?
Well, there's a lot of things that people want to know about sensuality, sexuality, and, of course, most of us have been kind of shamed and silenced and isolated, so it's really good for this show and for your interest in this and for us to get to talk in the open. And so what do you think? What do you think your listeners would be interested in knowing?
Well, it's all about relationships, and the magic word, it seems, is sex. We have 360 videos on the Internet, and the top watched ones have the word sex in them. I guess they get to that through Google. So if you've got a sex quiz or a quiz of 10 questions, we'd like to hear that.
Yeah, it's kind of like sex is everywhere in our culture, but really meaningful discussions, not very often. So
You're
let's
right.
have one.
Okay.
What do women want more of in bed, and what do they want less of from a man?
All right.
This is where maybe less is more, because women tend to want a little more stillness, a little more deep masculine, kind of that container where their dance and light can move. And so if a man is too busy, thrusting and moving and doing things, he can't really be that present lover who can gaze in her eyes, hold space for her, take a few breaths, and actually enjoy a stillness with a woman. So I'd say, guys, a little less might be a little more.
A little more active involvement
a little more
mentally?
Presence, a little more slowness with your hands, a little more just looking at her and kind of inviting her to come forward instead of feeling like, oh, gee, it's my responsibility. I got to do her. I got to think of the next thing. Or, oh, she likes this, so let me do it more.
Well, it takes a lot of pressure off the man, doesn't it?
Really kind of holding back from that.
Yeah, I think that takes a lot of pressure off the men. Maybe they would appreciate that.
Absolutely, and that's a good point, Dr. Paul, because if the women can take a little more lead and initiate a little bit more, especially with their honesty, it would be some new terrain for us, at least for me. I used to want the guy to read my mind, and then I'd be mad at him when he guessed wrong.
Oh, wow.
And then who was at fault? I mean, really, I want to say in my mature years, I have learned if something's not happening quite right for me in bed, I'm the one that needs to tweak it.
Ah, you are the one that needs to tweak it. How do you do that?
I tweak it by taking a deep breath, looking inside myself, and saying, what in this moment could I do to be more honest, transparent, and helpful to this situation? I mean, I used to not have very much confidence because we're kind of in a man's world. We figure, us women are a little too slow. Kind of got an egg timer on our orgasm. We wonder kind of what's wrong with us. But really, our rhythm's just different. And when a man can make a woman feel like that's okay for her to be exactly who she is in that moment, he's going to reap the rewards.
Well, I like the metaphor. egg timer on your orgasm. Do you actually set one next to the bed? I mean, is that how it works? Women we're kind of more peripheral, and you guys are kind of really center fire, right there in the middle of the body, But you get to our yin waters, they heat up very slowly. And so you start with our body on the peripheral. You start with our hands and our feet and our neck and our head. And you work into the center, using the whole body as like a temple of eroticism, and making us feel like we're loved from head to foot. And it's just taking that kind of time and presence is going to come back tenfold to you guys. Wow, this is going to be we'd love to put this on YouTube. Do we have your permission to put this on YouTube? Oh, sure. I love talking about making sex work better in our lives, getting more of the touch we want. That's why I teach classes in erotic massage and intimacy and, lead Tantra pujas and have a Tantra group in Austin, Texas.
Austin is a great place.
Yeah. And matter of fact, I will offer your listeners a free podcast I have on 5 techniques for mind-blowing orgasms. They just go to bodyjoy.us.
That is...
The joy of having a body, bodyjoy.us, and that's a free gift for them.
Is that bodyjoy.us or bodyjoy.org?
It's .org is my website, but .us is the free gift.
I see. Okay, .us. All right, say that again, please, Charla.
Bodyjoy.us.
That would be US,
right?
Great, sure, that's excellent, excellent. And this is going to be on erotic massage as well?
Yes, I teach classes in erotic massage, and I have couples classes, too, where they get to massage each other. And sometimes I use a demonstration like on a man or a woman, because there are places on the body, male and female, that most of us really don't know how to access. And it is a way of relaxing and making someone feel safe, because when you feel safe, you feel sexy. So there's things with the perineum, with the hidden cock, with internal places that we didn't go to school for this. None of us learned any of this stuff, yet it's the centerfold of a life of pleasure and intimacy.
I wonder if when you go to that school, if you could, mark that part, before you have an operation, they kind of put a circle about where they're going to make the incision. You kind of mark that part with an indelible pin so that when they go home again, they can say, press my buttons here. Is that a possibility?
Wow, wouldn't that be fun to take a little wash-off marker and to do a little experiment on the body on a scale of 1 to 10? Honey, what's this spot like? More pressure or less pressure? Do you want it faster or slower? You notice I never asked the question, do you like this? Because we're looking for information, right?
Okay.
It would be fun to map out the body with it, Dr. Paul.
We could tattoo that permanently.
With a few little arrows, huh?
That's right. Press here. You want to press my buttons, you're home free. Excellent,
yeah.
Excellent. When you do the questions, I had one here that I saw. What are 3 ways to woo a reluctant lover back into the game?
Oh, yes. And most of us have kind of a reluctant lover in our life. It's not always the woman. Sometimes it can be the man. What I say, if you want them back feeding out of the palm of your hand, start small, making small offers, getting a string of yeses, getting them in a yes cycle, and then adding just one little thing at a time with your integrity. I always use a timer, too. I say, can I rub your feet for, a couple of minutes each? And then I don't expect any more than that, so that my integrity grows. Oh, can I rub the back of your neck? Oh, may I brush your hair? Oh, you look really tired. Can I rub your shoulders tonight, honey, for a couple of minutes? Because, when we ask somebody, can I give you a massage, it feels like a bottomless pit, and we're not quite sure we can really give that kind of time or attention, and it's no good unless we can.
The egg timer doesn't work there, right?
Yeah, right. So what do you want to do? Actually, I do kind of tell people that things are timed and to really start small with just a couple of minutes. And you can ask for stuff on your own body, too, like, oh, wow, would you just caress my hands or give me a face caress? So, seeing the whole body, just not our genital parts, as places to ask for or be asked on for sensual touch. So if you want to woo back a reluctant lover, don't make the offers too big, too scary, too endless, too vague. It's specific and show what integrity you have with your tidy boundaries.
Well, I like that. In fact, it sounds very much like behavior modification. Do you remember, what was that 9.5 Weeks? Do you remember that movie?
Wonderful movie, yeah.
And that was kind of the way in which he operated, among other things, used Jell-O and whipped cream and ice cubes, etc. Remember?
Yes, and he bought her some gifts at first, and they walked in the park.
Right.
And then little by little, she was wooed, wasn't she, right into some very, very exciting places.
Yeah, well, some people thought that was kind of an elevation of kinkiness going up and up and up. And in fact, it may have been, but it certainly was exciting, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, they say something is only kinky the first 5 or 6 times you do it.
I love this guest, Mike. That's my producer's laughing here in the studio.
Else does it. We haven't discovered yet.
It's only kinky the first 5 or 6 times.
We want our sexuality to be open-ended. Now, we don't want any coercion and to feel forced, because that doesn't, if it's not safe, it's not sexy. So, but to get new territory, I think sometimes we're bored in our sex lives, Dr. Paul, and we think we need a new person or a new vacation or a new place we really might need to go deeper.
Or maybe a new pair of handcuffs.
More transparent.
I said maybe a new pair of handcuffs.
Buy a book on BDSM.
Okay.
BD 101, and find your safe words and.
Well, you better explain what those letters mean. I know what they mean, but my audience may not.
That's just a little power and surrender play where one becomes powering over with love and the other is surrendering utterly. And we usually think of the man and the woman in traditional roles here, but we know we all have feminine and masculine inside of us. So we can begin, when did we stop playing at sex anyway, and when can we start again?
So S&M means sadomasochism,
yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So getting out a book with you don't really have to hurt anyone. We're just talking about a little sensation play here, and getting permission, of course, having safe words. But I wrote a book, 8 Erotic Nights, and one of the erotic nights is just that. It's just playing with a little blindfold, perhaps tying up someone, perhaps spanking, or just really totally being in charge. It's kind of exciting to actually exaggerate the role of being in charge and then surrendering. And for women, too, to get to be in charge and to, lightly tie up someone, of course, with their permission and with a safe word, and just get to look at them.
Well, is this book still available?
Yeah, the book is 8 Erotic Nights, and it's available on Amazon. And so is my other book, Erotic Massage, Sensual Touch for Deep Pleasure and Extended Arousal.
I think I'll read 8 Erotic Nights. It sounds good. Right now we're going to a break, though, Charla, and we'll be back right after these messages.
And now, back to the Dr. Paul Show.
Hi, this is Dr. Paul. We're back on the show with our guest. We'll be with our guest in a moment. I'd like to urge you to go to Kindle, get Boomer Girls, a Boomer Woman's Guide to Men and Dating. Our book on that now is $2.99. You can't beat that with a stick. $2.99 is fine. Boomer Girls. Go to Kindle, order it, iPad, whatever you're using, it's available. UK, Europe, North America, Australia, all over the world. Go for it. We've had thousands of responses thus far. We are looking forward to having more. I know you're going to need it on your bookshelf. Great reference, ladies, for how to handle men. Oh, boy. And now we're going to go back here to Charla Hathaway, who will tell you further how to have that erotic night. Hello, Charla.
Hi.
We enjoy having you as a guest. We've had a lot of comment in the studio here over the break.
Oh, good. I'm really glad. What else would you like to know, Dr. Paul?
Well, we see that we have, how do you spice up routines that have become predictable and boring? Oh, my.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, the best, we kind of talked a little bit about adding some play, a little power play, surrender play, getting books like Erotic Nights or others that kind of have suggestions.
Right.
Because, and everything else, we always get to exchange with people what we did and what went on. But when it comes to sex, we're all supposed to be so quiet. So we need to start a dialogue and bringing in a breath of fresh air.
A breath of fresh air. Okay. When it becomes predictable and boring, in other words, you have to make something not boring and not predictable, a different place perhaps, a different...
What I would suggest is playing a game like the kissing game.
Oh.
And in the kissing game, any really guy that's a good kisser is wonderful, but it can get boring if you never turn it around. So what I like to do is have, say, the woman take the lead, and for 10 minutes, and I would time it, she gets to kiss the man just the way that brings her pleasure. Not taking care of him, not trying to even turn him on, but just doing what pleases her.
Good.
Now, she might do little kisses on the corner of his lips. She might kiss his eyebrows. She might brush her cheek. She might just flick the tongue over this or that part. And then after she gets her say, so to speak, could even give him some ideas, then he gets to take the lead. And she simply offers her body in a very soft and open way. That way, you're kind of taking turns. One's being active, the doer, the kisser, and then the next time you are the inactive, being done to, the kissee.
The kisser and the kissee.
And you will be amazed at just how focused and fun something that is, and how much it can tell you about one another, too.
Well, I like that. That kissing game sounds great. My only concern about that, Charla, is if she goes for 10 minutes and he goes for 10 minutes, do you actually think it's going to last 20 minutes before they get really intimate?
What's really neat is when you start to make so much attention to this detail, such as kissing, it's amazing how long it can go and how much you can enjoy it instead of just getting into the rut routine that, beginning, middle, end in the same way. I mean, for instance, breast massage. Now, everyone knows lesbians can spend 20 minutes massaging the breast, but most heterosexual men, maybe spend 5. So the fact is, when you do stretch these out, you might actually be discovering things you didn't know before.
How about
and then
that?
I would even do something after the kissing game. I would set the timer again for 2 minutes and have a share back. And so the woman would say, for 2 minutes she talks. It's not a conversation. She's just witnessed what she noticed about the kissing that she liked. And then the man's turn. He doesn't try to fix her. He doesn't try to comment even on what she says. And then she listens to the man. What did he notice? Notice is such a good word. What did you notice in your body? What was that like? Just tell me for 2 minutes your experience. Because this talking about the experience is a very female thing, such as our Tantra learning. We're learning to bring the female back into the quotient here. And it's actually letting the intimacy kind of soak in as we begin to verbalize and talk about what happens in our bodies when we pay so close attention and we're so aware.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Well, this is going to be a very popular show on the YouTube, I can tell. How can a man make a woman crazy for him and pursue him? That was one of the questions you had in your...
This is such an important one because men are always such the pursuers, and they're not even quite sure often if the woman is, faking something or just saying okay. But when a woman really, her fire is lit and she takes the initiative to grow towards him, it's such a delight. And how do you do this? I think that women are used to kind of their desires like a little green sprout, and it kind of gets jumped on by the man's bigger. Testosterone works a little bit different. It's beautiful, but it works differently. If he could just take a deep breath and let her move towards him a bit so that her desires can actually be experienced in her body, and she can kind of feel that little itch that needs to be scratched, and maybe she wants to put her hands through her hair or feel that hair chest on her hair. And
And if he just makes her feel slow and safe enough that she can express herself, I think it's a great thing. And for women, I really suggest learning to flirt. Yes, do it because you can find your turn on, and that is your way of saying you know who's in charge of your turn on, and it's you. And you can replenish it tenfold by just playing that.
So you're
and
saying
also,
you're saying
ahead.
that they should flirt with their significant other? Is that what you're saying?
I think they should flirt with everybody. The neighbor's dog, the
neighbor's
kids, the old man at the bus stop, the butcher behind the counter, women, men. I think they should flirt because it is their way of feeling that smile, that attention without intention, that giveaway that we can. And you just don't know whose day you're going to make. It just might be your own.
Yeah, just make sure that you're not flirting with somebody who is a serial killer. That could be pretty dangerous. Well, anyway, moving.
Yes, and it's pretty unlikely, too.
Well, okay. Well, we're going to another area here that you had in your profile, and I thought this was a terrific profile. When you talked about, you said making a man or woman crazy for you, but you also said, how do you know your woman is faking it? And I'm going to extend on that. How do you know your man is faking it?
That's a good point because, Dr. Paul, men fake it too. I've been in groups of people where we, raised our hand if we'd faked an orgasm, and there's quite a few men's hands that go up too. So we've all felt like for some reason we need to fake it. And I think good sex actually comes from taking care of yourself instead of taking care of somebody else. And I know that sounds selfish, and we're supposed to give instead of receive. But when you're filling up your own cup, when you're in tune with what sensations feel like in your body, when you're 100% behind what you do and you've got a working yes and no, you trust your no, and you use it unless it's 100% yes. These are the things that feed our erotic juice. And if you're kind of wondering if a woman is faking it, there's a good chance she is. And what if you just had the vulnerability and the presence to say, I'm curious. Do you fake or did you fake an orgasm? Because I want to really know how to please you. You are so important to me.
Communication.
I really want our sex to be better.
Right. That's good. I found that men have said when they were wearing condoms that they just didn't have the sensitivity. That it may or may not be true because a lot of thin condoms are available now. When you're talking about, it's pretty difficult for a man to fake it, I believe. I think, it's kind of self-evident. And I think a lot of times you can really tell that a woman may or may not be faking it. I can't tell you how many women I have had email after having been divorced and telling their husbands, well, I faked it the entire time we were married, which obviously they didn't. But it's a good get back, isn't it?
Well, it's really missing the communication. And who should it start with? I mean, all of us have been so shamed by sex. We haven't been given any tools or any languaging to be able to ask things like, how would you like to be kissed? Or where would you like me to touch you right now? Do you like pressure that's like this or like this? And show me with your hand where you would like me to touch you. And how could I make this experience better for you right now? To ask for directions, so to speak, where, men aren't taught to do that. Women aren't taught to be brave enough. And some women don't even quite know because it's, we haven't had these kind of conversations. But just the idea that you are brave enough, especially as a man, to be vulnerable. That's such a beautiful word. I didn't even know what it meant in college. But to be vulnerable enough to say, I don't have the kind of genitals you do. And I'm so curious about them. I'm so curious about how to make you feel really good. I would just love it if you would show. Sometimes I think self-pleasuring for one another is such a wonderful activity. And it could be a whole night's agenda. And masturbation or self-pleasuring would be simply, not you even helping out another person. Put on the music, put on the candlelight,
have some nice lotions there, feathers and furs, and say, for the next hour, honey, I just want to watch you enjoy your own body.
Wow. I'm certain that we are going to have...
And then again, talk about it each 5 minutes. What was that experience like to watch? You know, how was it like to be witnessed? How was it like to not feel the pressure that you had to have sex afterwards or continue to something else? How do you see that just as a tasty morsel or activity in its own right? And, of course, as you can guess, and it's in my book, 8 Erotic Nights, these kinds of activities. And, again, the free 5 techniques for mind-blowing orgasms is at bodyjoy.us for those who want that free gift from me. But that idea of sharing something like self-pleasuring is wow.
Well, it sounds
Not
great,
only
Charla.
is it sexy activity and hot, but so you can learn so much.
Absolutely. I really appreciate your being a guest. It was terrific, and we really enjoy that. Again, let's hear that author, best-selling author of 8 Erotic Nights. Take a look at that. Charla Hathaway, thank you for being a guest on my show. You've been terrific.
You know, thank you, Dr. Paul, for talking about a subject we all want to have work better in our lives, and we need these kind of dialogues. Thank you.
Thank you again.